I recently heard the most shocking fact that 13,000 young people, that's people aged between 15 and 24, 13,000 young people in New South Wales are homeless. That means 13,000 young people, and that excludes people with their family. This is 13,000 young people on their own who do not have a secure place to sleep tonight. And that's your reality, is it not, Kristy?
Yep, every day.
Every day. I'm Nicky Sloan. I'm CEO of Community Industry Group, and I'm bringing you Community Matters, the podcast that explores community issues with people who are making a difference. And today I am joined by Kristy Puckeridge, who is a manager here at Southern Youth and Family Services. Welcome, Kristy.
Thank you.
So you said this is the reality. This is what you work with every day. Tell me, what does that look like for a young person? Why don't they have a secure place to live?
So no young person wants to present homeless. That's not a reality. It's a really big myth, but it's also, the things that they face around mental health, drug and alcohol, domestic violence, whether it be within their own relationships or their family relationships, social media, attendance at school. There's a whole list of things that prevent young people from remaining at home. On top of that, being able to leave home successfully, being able to have an income that is suitable to, be able to rent a property in the market currently is next to impossible. Here at SYFS, we have a really great continuum of service that allows us to, support a young person right from a crisis situation right through to longer term and full-time accommodation in the long term. So there's a really broad range of reasons young people present as homeless, but predominantly the reality is no one wants to be.
No. Homelessness is not a glamorous lifestyle choice. These are young people who have felt that they have no other option but to leave home.
Yeah.
And they've obviously been feeling unsafe, but they're certainly not going to a place of safety either unless they find a service like SYFS.
Yeah. Many of our young people aren't those rough sleepers that you do see. They'll be couch surfing on friends' couches, in garages, at grandma's, at aunties, at uncles. Lots of intergenerational accommodation where there might be overcrowding. But if they find a service like SYFS, they have that support network to be able to move forward and develop their skills to be able to live independently.
So you talked about the continuum that SYFS provides. So you have crisis accommodation and then you have transitional accommodation.
Yep.
But demand, with 13,000 young people in New South Wales, can you meet the demand?
No, absolutely not. We turned away 42% of young people who presented asking for accommodation last year.
Wow.
And those people were turned away for accommodation only. However, they were all offered some level of support. So it may mean that they were turned away today and received accommodation at a later date, or they were able to be referred to another agency. They'll be able to be referred to New South Wales Housing, where they're able to obtain some level of support through them, through temporary accommodation, or be able to mediate and seek accommodation through family members where they were able to mediate and support them to go back to families.
I know that you would never, ever want to turn a young person away, but what you do when you're full is you give them the best support that you can.
Absolutely. There was about 5,500 young people fully supported by SYFS. So that would include accommodation, supports, both financial and material aids, accommodation and case management support to provide them with that step up, education and training availabilities, and just social interaction with other young people that are positive in their environment. Beyond that, there's about 15,000 that were given a less intensive support. So that may not mean accommodation, it might just mean a referral, or it may mean some material aid or some food vouchers, or it could simply be somewhere to have breakfast and a shower at our health service. So it's really important to recognise that although we turn people away for accommodation, we never turn them away for other supports. There's a no wrong door approach. You can ring any SYFS service and you will get a service.
That's fantastic, and that's an amazing commitment, because we do know the funnel's too big for the services that we've got available, and so there must become bottlenecks. So, crisis accommodation is supposed to be short-term accommodation, but I imagine you don't want people to reach the limit of crisis accommodation and then have to go back out and start the circle again.
No, and I think the bottleneck for us is that coming out the other end of the medium-term transitional housing into the long-term housing. So going into a community housing provider, being able to seek rentals in the private rental market. Across the state, there was a report done recently where there was 2 private rental properties available to a young person on income support across the state, and they were both in Western New South Wales, both in towns with low employment opportunities, and they were the only 2 rentals available to a young person. So being able to support our young people into the private market is next to impossible. The transition to support them into either share accommodation or longer-term social housing is really our only options.
Yes, so 2 properties across New South Wales, and that was just at that point in time.
Yep.
So if we could explain what income support looks like for a young person on youth allowance.
Yeah, so income support for a young person ranges, a little bit, but somewhere between $40 and $50 a day is what they would receive. The Henderson Poverty Report says that they need to receive about $80 a day in order to survive. So living below the poverty line, affordability is about 50% of your income for rentals, which means their rental is about $150 to $160 a week.
Which we know in this region there would be absolutely no properties.
Absolutely nothing.
No properties.
So along with the rental affordability, you've then got food, electricity, gas, none of which come down because you're a young person. They all remain at the same price as you would pay as an adult. However, the income support from the government is not adequate, and it's not suitable for a young person to live independently.
Absolutely, and a long-term advocacy piece for Community Industry Group is that we desperately need to increase the amount of income support, both for young people and for older people who need income support, who are not able to work for some reason. We cannot keeping people in poverty and expect them to pull themselves up. They are just trying to cope every single day.
Yeah, and even if they are able to secure themselves some level of employment, more often than not it's casual. And it's erratic, and it can be all in one week and none in the next. And for every dollar they earn, they're losing money out of their Centrelink, which potentially then loses things like, if they are lucky enough to secure something as part of the rental scheme through Department of Housing called Rent Choice Youth, they would lose that as part of that, being able to work casually. But again, casualisation of the workforce forces young people into low-paid, erratic payments, which doesn't support renting a property on an ongoing basis.
So there's a disincentive. If you were lucky enough to get into social housing, there's a disincentive to get a job, basically.
Unless you're getting a job that is well paid enough that you can afford to rent in the private market.
And even if you were going to rent in the private market, how would you have all of the references and...
Yeah, so we at SYFS operate a program called Rent It, Keep It,
Yes.
And we run Rent It, Keep It on a really regular basis for our young people. And it's really a program that supports them to train and I guess support them to know how to care for a tenancy, what's expected of them, what's expected of the landlord, what they can do and what they can't do. And that gives them a certificate that says, I've done this program, I know what my expectations are. We also provide a letter of reference. We ask them to pay rent in our properties. We can then provide that as a rental ledger for them. We want to encourage real estates to give young people a chance, to give them that opportunity to rent in the market and know that support services such as SYFS and other specialist homelessness services are available to support them. Call us before the tenancy falls apart. So don't let the tenancy fall apart. Allow us to come in and support them and, work out what's going on for that young person to help them maintain the tenancy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're kind of moving into solutions. Now, one solution obviously is Rent It, Keep It. I know that program. It's a brilliant program. And it also helps young people to understand what documentation they need to have. So when a young person comes to a real estate agent or to a landlord, if they've done that program, they really are well equipped.
Yeah.
Are they not, to have a tenancy and be good tenants?
Yeah, absolutely. They, just the documentation and being able to upload it. Many real estates use a portal now that is required to do it all online. Some of our young people don't have the capacity or have the internet to be able to do that. We assist them in being able to do all that and making sure that it's all up to date and current and that they're writing the right things, they're presenting the right way, that when they go to do an inspection that they do and say the right things, know that their documentation's up to date.
So that's one solution. What other things could we be doing? What should the rest of New South Wales be doing to help those 13,000 young people? And because that's 13,000 young people who will grow up and form a family and be part of society. How do we make them do that successfully?
There's lots of things that we as a sector already do. I mean, you mentioned the advocacy we do around payments and advocating for more funding for services such as ours, those kind of things. But what people out there can do is, if you're an employer, if you are a person that is involved in employment for any business, any agency, give a young person a go. They really do want to work. They want to get out there and they want to be a loyal, dedicated employer. If you get someone young enough, you can actually mould them to exactly what you want them to do. They're not going to come with bad habits. They're not going to come with, baggage that from a previous employer because they don't have one. Give them a chance to actually prove themselves to you as an employer. Give them a chance in a real estate. If you are the person in charge of allocating properties, give them a chance in a real estate to prove themselves. Reach out to services such as ours to allow us to support them as well, and do what you can to support that young person without just dismissing them. They're the people that really do need that leg up. We're the safety net. We don't want to be the be-all and end-all, but we can be that safety net.
Absolutely. So employ a young person. They might not come with bad habits from a previous employer. They might not come with all of the employability skills that we'd look for, but you can help them there.
Yeah.
You can help them to develop those and become a great employee for yourself and going on into the future.
Absolutely.
So, Kristy, this podcast is called Community Matters. Could you tell me about someone in the community who matters to you?
Our young people. They inspire me to come to work every day. No 2 days are the same. I can turn up every day and have something new thrown across my desk.
Sometimes literally.
Sometimes literally. But more often than not, it's a young person that has changed and developed and come in at 15 and goes out at 24, and you know the impact that you've had on their life. I was in a shopping centre recently where a young girl stepped into a lift with me with her 2 young children and said to me, "You don't know who I am, but you saved me.
Wow.
And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you." And she went on to explain to me who she was. And I remember housing her at 15 in one of our crisis refuges at the time. And she's now a 30-odd-year-old woman who owns her own business with her partner, is buying a house in Shell Cove. She has amazing things happened. The eldest of those 2 children she had while she was with us, and I remember that baby being born and visiting that baby in the hospital. And seeing that makes me go, they're the people that make me want to come to work every day. Because if you're in this industry to make the money, you're in the wrong industry. However, if you have an ability to see the good in everyone and know that even for a young person on their worst day, they still have been through so much more and are so much more resilient than so many people.
Yeah.
They're the people that inspire me.
Wow, that's beautiful. And we were all young people once, and we all made mistakes. I know I did.
I'm so glad that social media wasn't a thing when I was young, because, our young people live on a camera.
Yes.
They are constantly being recorded. They're constantly being filmed. And there's so much out there now that can, cause so many issues. And, yeah, you're right. We were all young people, and thank heaven some of us didn't get recorded.
Well, thank you so much, Kristy. Thank you for talking with us today, but thank you so much for the work that you do and the work that everybody at SYFS do. It makes an amazing difference to young people who are our future. And I would encourage everybody to take Kristy's advice and to employ a young person, or if you're a landlord, maybe have a look at putting your property with a community housing provider and having someone in need move into your property.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us today for Community Matters. Please leave us a review, like us, share, and look back at our other podcasts. And stay tuned next time for Community Matters, the podcast where we explore issues that are important with the community, with the people who are making a difference.